Hey humans, how's it going? Susan Ruth here. Thanks for listening to another episode of Hey Human Podcast. This is episode 122. It is with Jeff. He was a first responder on September 11th, and he sat down and spoke with me about his life, starting from when he graduated from high school and things that happened to him in the wake of 9/11, and his story is really something, I gotta say. He's an extraordinary human being, and it was my honor to have him on the show. I got to have him as my first guest in the new podcast room, so that was exciting. Of course, I did not realize that the air conditioning of the house would kick on and be heard. I thought that I was completely soundproof, but unfortunately there's a couple moments during this conversation where you can hear the AC kick on. I was so bummed out when that happened because I just knew that it was going to show up on the microphone. But you know what? Things happen and you adjust, and so now I know. And I just ask for your patience in those couple moments. Know that that's what that is. It's the AC. And I apologize for the sound changing right there. You can still hear everything okay. It's just, I find it a bummer personally that happened. The usual stuff, of course. Hey Human Podcast, social media, all over the place. The Amazon portal is on the heyhumanpodcast.com website. The links page on the website is full up of stuff. I encourage you to check it out. I try to take stuff from every episode and put it on that links page and keep it real full, and lots of information there. Email me, Susan at heyhumanpodcast.com. I'd love to hear from you. If you are so inclined, please rate and review Hey Human Podcast at iTunes. You can also do so on whichever podcast app is your favorite. It always helps. So there's really no great words to say on anniversaries such as today is. Of course, it'll be a couple days after 9/11 when you hear this episode, when it posts. But today, it is September 11th, and all I can think of is love each other, hug on each other, make sure the people who are around you know how you feel about them, that you care. Yesterday was National Suicide Prevention Day, and it's also a really big day, of course, especially considering so many veterans commit suicide on the daily. I don't know, this world is a crazy place, and Lord knows I haven't figured it out. It's all I've got is to just say, love each other. It sounds trite, but I do think it's true, and I do think it's important. It's really the only way to combat everything that we get thrown at us, is to look into the eyes of the people we care about and let them know. So, thanks for listening, everybody. Here we go. Is it too warm in here?
No,
okay?
It's comfy.
Oh, goody. All right. Yay, that makes me happy. Jeff, welcome to Hey Human.
Hi.
It's good to have you here.
Thanks. Thank you for the invitation.
My newly constructed podcast room. I'm so excited.
It's very nice.
Thank
it's
you.
comfy.
Thank you. It's still a work in progress since basically I finished it last night. But it's coming along. Anyway, you are from Chattanooga.
I am.
And we know each other through a mutual friend.
That's right.
And he told me a little bit about your story, and I said, well, yes, absolutely, 100%. I'd love to talk to you, so thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go back. You grew up in Chattanooga? Or?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I grew up in Chattanooga, and, it's home for me. I've lived many places, but, I think there's a sense of feeling about a place that feels like home. Mm. And whether it's in a house or a city or wherever, Chattanooga's home.
Yeah.
the mountains and the rivers and all that.
Yeah, it's a good town. I like it. I've always had fun there. Did you served in the military?
I did.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
for
thanks.
that.
Yeah.
What drew you into that?
Well, I was living in Chattanooga. I graduated from high school.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up as a musician.
Oh, what did you play?
I've been playing music my whole life.
Really? What was your instrument of choice?
Guitar.
Oh, okay.
And I ended up not playing any sports in high school or anything like that. And
you're tall. You could have done the ball.
No, I'm not a very good basketball player.
Me neither.
But I got a scholarship to the University of New Mexico for guitar, and I went out and studied jazz and classical.
Oh, that's so cool.
But growing up, I grew up playing bluegrass during school and during high school, and then middle school I went to rock and roll and Jane's Addiction and Led Zeppelin and all these other bands
all
and
the
all
goodies.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all the goodies.
And then, but really kind of came back to the whole bluegrass thing, and then got interested in playing jazz and classical, and even out in New Mexico playing flamenco a little bit.
Really?
Yeah. So
what makes flamenco a little bit different than everything else? Is it the finger movements?
Yeah, a little bit,
and then quick
it's just the style of music, I guess. I would say that's the difference between
here's your coffee,
jazz and
it's gonna be hot, and it may be I make very dark coffee, so if you want to add anything to it to chill it out a little, let me know.
Okay. But anyway,
did you want to do flamenco? Was that something that you were?
No, I don't think so. I think it was just more of a interest.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up doing that, and then I transferred here to MTSU.
Okay.
I wanted to come to Nashville and play professionally and everything, and I did. I went to school full time, and then I ran out of scholarship money and didn't know how I was going to work full time. And
did you know what you wanted at that point?
I don't think I really knew.
Okay.
I don't think I really knew.
20, 21.
Yeah.
20,
21. And then one night, I think it was the furthest thing from my mind joining the military. And especially for my friends' minds. They would have never expected it.
Yeah.
But one night, I was at home, and I was had on the television, and I saw this great TV show with Tom Brokaw, and it was about him. He was interviewing these Vietnam veterans that had done this battle in Vietnam, where it was like a 72-hour battle on this hill, and they were coming together for the first time after I don't know how many years, and having a reunion and stuff like that. And for some reason, it really resonated with me. I don't know what it was. And at this point, I had long hair, and I was wearing tie-dye, and, not even the closest thing to a military person.
And what year would this be?
96.
Okay.
I would say. 97. But I felt like I needed something like that in my life. Something that's so stable that bond with somebody else that I didn't really know all that well.
A band of brothers.
Yeah, a little bit. And so the next day, I went and looked at the military branches, and I didn't want to go in the Army, and I didn't want to go in the Navy because I like water, but I don't love it.
Submarines, that takes a special kind of discipline.
Even living on a ship for like 300 days of the year.
Yeah.
Like, no thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, admire the people that want to do that.
Totally.
And I have a lot of friends that do that, but no, it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So the Air Force it seemed to fit really well. So.
And how did you find it?
I think I went and sought it out.
No, I mean, how did you like it?
Oh gosh, I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. I loved it.
It was all the things that you wanted.
Yeah. It was.
Were you trained to fly? Because you wear glasses, so I don't know.
No.
I've heard the rumors that if you have to wear glasses, they don't let you fly or something.
No.
I don't know if that's true. It's just...
No, I actually, I went in to be a bomb builder.
Oh.
I built big bombs.
From guitar playing to bomb building.
I know.
Wow. The Guthries are spinning in their graves.
I know. It's so contradictory. It's crazy.
Wow. Fascinating, though, I bet.
Yeah. It was I mean, I think I just wanted to do something that was so far removed from everything else that I had ever known.
Have you always been like that? I find that really fascinating. Most people find comfort in that which they know
I don't know.
Do you believe in reincarnation? Maybe you had been in the military.
I do. I do.
Maybe
actually.
that's why you were drawn to the Vietnam thing.
Maybe. I'm not sure. But, I know a lot of people that are great doctors or lawyers or interview personnel. Or, just being able to talk to people. I was really good at being in the military.
Yeah, you took to it.
It's all a game, and if you could figure the game out, then you've got it made.
Yeah.
And I felt like I wasn't in for very long. I was in for almost 10 years. But
that seems like
yeah.
That's a couple tours, is it not?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But if I would have stayed in, I would have retired.
Now I'm curious because I'm going to ask you a million questions because that's what this is all about. But I'm curious, how was that intellectually building, or even spiritually or emotionally, to build bombs, knowing what that was, and obviously they have a purpose, and those purposes have to be carried out. But where did you stand with all of that stuff? Did you think about that, or not so much? Or?
Yeah, I did. I think I reflect on it more now than I did back then. Mm-hmm. I felt like I was doing my job and what I was asked to do. Right. And I don't think I really questioned the intent behind it. Because I know that the men and women that are in uniform will die for our freedom. Absolutely. And for the freedom to even do this. Sure. And have this conversation. Yeah. Absolutely. It's something that a lot of people take for granted. Yeah. And it's quite a web. I mean, the thing is you drop a drop of water into a placid lake and watch it ripple out. That's really what we're talking about. Yeah. But I get it completely. But I am always curious to know, like, in the moment, if people, think about that outwardly, or if it's just like, get the job done, it has a purpose, it's necessary. Yeah. Yeah. Get the job done. Yeah. It's necessary. Yeah. And I was at a pivotal moment in American history. Yeah, so that would have been the first Iraq. No. Wait, 2092. When did you enter? No, so it was 98. Oh, 98. Yeah, so it was after the first Gulf War. Okay. And before the Iraq War. And so, the first operation that I was involved with was Kosovo. Okay. And the NATO strike in Kosovo. And then shortly after that, the USS Cole which was a Navy ship, was attacked and bombed by a little vessel that ran into the side of it in Yemen, and I think like 30 sailors died from that.
I have a vague recollection of
yeah,
that.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And then 9/11, and there's
so 9/11. You were serving, and you were in. I did a little research. You were in D.C. at the time.
I was in D.C. and I was right next to the Pentagon.
So talk about that. If you can't, I mean, I'm sure that creates a lot of stress, but
it does in a way. I don't think I have PTSD from any of that stuff, but I do think about it, and I do have dreams about it every once in a while. And
what are the dreams, hostile or?
No, it's just like flashes of scenes from that day that I can envision in my head.
What were you required to do?
Well, so I didn't even know about the attack on the World Trade Center. And then the Pentagon was attacked. And as soon as it was attacked, I had just come from the field. I had just gotten there. I got there to D.C. in July or June.
The field meaning you were overseas?
Well, I was out not
maneuvering.
Yeah. I was not in the Pentagon.
Right.
A lot of people that work in the Pentagon are administrative type people, and I had just come from operational world, and my commander knew that. So when the Pentagon was hit, all of a sudden got detached from my unit and assigned to an Army unit, and I found myself in body armor with a M16 rifle and all that kind of stuff, and standing on top of a building, looking out for incoming aircraft.
That whole day was so surreal. And I can't even imagine what would have been going through your mind at that moment or that day. It was a dream state that, you know what I mean? As far as somebody that had a specific job to do, but as a civilian, from the morning, I remember that morning because my roommate came, it happened early on the West Coast, for us, on the West Coast. I was in Seattle at the time. And so my roommate, who got up quite early for work, she ran upstairs and she said, you have to come down, something's going on. And I said, what? And she said, I don't know, a plane flew into, the World Trade Center. And I was like, oh my God, so I got up and I went downstairs and we watched as the second one together. And I turned to her, I said, no, this is no accident. And then all hell broke loose, of course.
Yeah.
As if it weren't already, but the reality hit.
Yeah.
In that moment. So you, on the other side of the nation.
Well, I think the military, the training that we had, all of a sudden became an operational type thing. It wasn't just a training exercise anymore. This was real world. Mm-hmm. And
you had been preparing for that.
And we've been preparing for it.
Yeah.
So it was very hectic. I will say that. The visions that I have in dreams sometimes, there was so much smoke and debris everywhere that I had to wrap something around my mouth.
So you didn't have respirators?
Yeah, no, we didn't have any of that stuff. I mean, we just kind of went out and did it, and then one of the things that I see sometimes in my dreams are looking at my uniform and seeing little white flakes of debris and ash falling on my sleeve. And, it's, man, I don't know. Sometimes it's heavy.
Yeah. Sometimes
it's heavy.
Did you lose anyone in that day?
No. No one that I knew.
Okay.
I did not.
It's weird because watching it transpire on the television, and then my parents were on vacation, and they had made a point to not tell the kids where they were going. They made a big deal about it, like, we're going to sneak away, and we knew they were in Vegas. That was all that we knew. And I was so calm, and I was dialing, it was a Yellow Pages, I was dialing through all the phone numbers for hotels.
Yeah.
Thank God they were at the Bellagio. And I remember when I got patched through, and it was trouble because the lines were so freaky, there was a lot of busy signal, and everybody was calling everyone.
D.C. was on total shutdown.
Yeah. Especially because I imagine, were there cell phones?
Yeah, there were cell phones back then.
You can set off detonations with a cell phone.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's a big deal. So, but I remember my dad answering the phone, and I was so calm. And then my dad answers the phone at the hotel, and I just lost my shit. I mean, I was hysterical.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand how anyone could do something like that. And I know war is hell and all that stuff, but it just, I couldn't wrap my brain around it.
Yeah, and
I still can't, to be honest.
Yeah.
I never can. Every time I see anything like that, of course, this stuff happens all over the world.
Well, I didn't go home for about, I guess, a week and a half. We were on 12-hour rotations of duty, and we just slept there.
Yeah.
And but it was what we had to do and what I was being asked to do, and it was fine. It was okay. But we stood on top of a building with high-powered binoculars and telescopes and everything, looking out for incoming aircraft, and we were supposed to call it in if we saw it.
I was going to say, could an M16 take down an aircraft?
No.
I wouldn't think so.
No, we weren't to do it. But we were to call in anything that we saw.
Sure.
And actually, later on that day, the same day, they had shut down airspace in Washington, D.C. altogether.
Of course.
And there was a private plane up in the air that
didn't get the memo?
Didn't get the memo, apparently. And we called it in. And it actually was on CNN. They had
the jets coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not good.
So, it's a little crazy.
How do you recover from an experience like that?
Like I said, I don't think I really have PTSD, so...
You compartmentalized it okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even really watch the footage of what happened at the World Trade Center until, I don't think I really watched it until, a year later.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's so sad.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
It's horrifying what human beings are capable of doing to each other.
Yes. And
I'd like to think that one day we won't be like that, but...
I haven't been back to D.C. since I left.
Really?
There.
Intentionally, or just by chance you haven't been?
Kind of both. But I did go to New York City just a couple of years ago, and it was on the 15th anniversary of 9/11, and I actually flew into LaGuardia on 9/11. And I flew in, and this was for a business trip, and I flew in that evening on 9/11, and I looked out the window and saw Manhattan and everything, and then they had the towers, the beams of light shining up, and it was hard not to reflect on how full circle my life has come in 15 years. Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. So it's just it's pretty
haven't
fantastic.
Been able to go to the memorial in New York. I haven't. I've been near it, but I haven't been able to bring myself.
Well, I was at the Remembrance ceremony on September 11th, 2002, at the Pentagon. And I still have, I've got a whole box of memories stored up in the attic at my house. But I still have the pamphlet from that day, like the little handout. And the pamphlet, it had a list of who was speaking, and it came with a little American flag and a pen, and it's still all intact. I never took it out or anything. I just wanted to keep it. But I remember that day I escorted Senator McCain and Cindy McCain, which is crazy because he just passed away.
He did.
And but there were, it was a who's who of political officials, and the president and the vice president and everybody else.
Did you get to chat with McCain?
No, not that time. I have since that day. I have one other time. So on September 12th, 2002, I actually traveled with the president up to New York City, and where he gave a speech to the United Nations on why we needed to go to war with Iraq. And I was in the room when he gave that speech, and
how'd you feel about that?
I just thought our world is never going to be the same.
And also wrong country.
Well, but on that trip, we got to go down in the hole of the World Trade Center because there was nothing left.
Oh, I don't think I could have done that.
It was unbelievable. And just looking up and looking at the buildings around it and the broken out windows still that had boards on them, it was just, it's intense.
Yeah, I don't think I could handle it. My empathy meter is far too high. The day before that happened in 2011, I had a coffee meeting with a friend of mine who had just returned from the Gaza, and I remember going to the grocery store before the meeting. Excuse me. And it was a really nice day. I was wearing shorts and like a tank top. Seattle, nice day. Everybody gets almost naked. And I remember buying tomatoes for later. I bought a yogurt, and I bought a bottle of water, and probably some. This particular store had chocolate covered gummy bears, which at the time I was fully addicted to. So I know it sounds hideous, but they're really good. Anyway, and this is before I knew I was celiac, so I ate gummy bears. As I was walking to my car, holding my water and my bag of tomatoes and eating my, spooning out my yogurt, I remember thinking to myself, wow, what a luxury. What a luxury it is to be in America. I'm a woman, a young woman, wearing shorts and a tank top. Mm-hmm. I just purchased a yogurt, a bottle of water, and some tomatoes, and I'm going to go hang out in a coffee shop and chat with a friend who just, and I think my mind was there because of where he was coming from. He's a journalist and a photographer. And I remember going to my car thinking, this is an illusion. This feeling that I have right now is illusionary. It's not that feeling of safety and all of it, which is, for me, looking back on that day, it was as if I knew that the next day everything was going to be different.
Yeah.
And I sat in that coffee shop with my friend, and he was telling me about how they would be, just wherever, and suddenly bombs would come and everybody would duck under something. And he said, yeah, that happens all the time there. You don't hear about it, but it happens all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just a way of life, and so it doesn't really make the newspapers.
Yeah.
And so it cemented that feeling I had as I was journeying across the parking lot, and getting into a car that I get to drive, which in some places in the world is just now being allowed for women, right?
Absolutely.
So the whole thing was just so surreal. And that night I slept so deep. I'm a really, really vivid dreamer. And that night I slept so deeply, and I didn't recall any dreams. And so when I was woken up in the morning by my friend Ellen to say, come down and see what was going on, I don't know, the whole thing of it, the whole arc of that 24-hour cycle, still to this day trips me out so much.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think it's I think a lot of it is the military operations that we don't hear about every day.
There's so many.
It's countless.
That's the thing too. I get frustrated as you you obviously are military, but when people say, look, nobody likes war. Of course not. Nobody likes death and all this stuff. But I don't think people have an idea that this stuff is going on all over the world all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And that there are actively human beings, our military, that are trying to keep things together.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and
thwarting God knows what.
Working at the Pentagon, it's a joint service environment. It's not just our Air Force people. I mean, it's Marines and soldiers and sailors, and but some of the most impressive people I've ever met have been from the Coast Guard. And the Coast Guard isn't even really considered a branch of the military. They're out of the Department of Transportation. But I think one of the reasons that makes them so together is because, they do stuff on a daily basis on our water borders. Yes, down in the Caribbean, and you have drugs and
piracy
money and pirates and guns and all that stuff, and they are dealing with it every day. And that's something that most people just don't even think about.
That's right, and it's extraordinarily dangerous.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was a really good point.
Yeah.
Go Coast Guard.
Yeah.
All right, so you are a first responder.
Yeah.
Go in and deal with that situation.
Yeah.
And then after that, you start getting sick.
Well, I stayed in D.C. for a couple more years. I left in 2004. So, but, when I was there was also other things that happened. Anthrax attack through the Postal Service, and people were sending letters with anthrax in them. Well, my post office was one of the ones that got hit. My mail came through the White House Communications Agency, which is the postal carrier for the actual White House, and the Senate, and a lot of different places. So they got attacked by anthrax. So I didn't get mail for 3 months. And I had to learn how to pay all my bills online, which was totally new to me at the time. And,
that's so surreal.
I remember looking out I was doing the dishes and looking out the kitchen window and seeing my neighbor going to the mailbox with rubber gloves on and just thinking, this is fucking crazy. This is crazy. It's crazy what's happening. And then not only that, but we had the snipers on the freeway.
Oh, that's right. The D.C. snipers.
It was great. That was crazy. That was like 2 blocks from my house that one of those shootings happened. And it was like for weeks at a time. And I just remember, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of D.C. And I love Washington, D.C.
Yeah, everybody I know loves it.
I mean, I love it. I love the historical aspect of everything and the buildings and
the museums.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
But
kind of
during the time,
target.
During the time, and there's like a protest every day on the mall, which is cool. I'm all for that. But geez, it's nuts.
Yeah.
So I had to get out.
Yeah.
I had to get out of there. So I did, and I moved on from there, and then when I moved, I started noticing something with my health. And I was a big runner. I don't run anymore. I think my knees are too weak now. But I was a big runner, and I ran 7-8 miles 3 days a week.
Without anyone chasing you.
It's just part of military life.
Yeah.
Just staying in shape and all that stuff, But when I would run, I noticed that I felt like I was going to pass out. I felt dizzy, and I didn't know why. And so I went to the doctor about it, and they did an EKG, and it turned up irregular. And then they sent me for an echocardiogram. And it turned out that I had an enlarged chamber of my heart. And you hear about young athletes that will pass out on the football field or basketball court or die.
Yeah.
And that's usually why, is that they have an enlarged heart. It happened to be that I had an enlarged chamber in my heart, which was causing all kinds of problems.
Did they think that was genetic or brought on from the
They think that
environment?
That it was brought on by the environment.
So from your doing the first responding?
Yes.
All the ash and crap in the air? And, yeah.
And they think it was stress and the pressure of all that stuff brought that on. I became sick, and it progressively turned into me feeling like I was going to pass out, like doing laundry, and I became really, really weak, and I wasn't able to stay in the military any longer.
That must have been heartbreaking since you loved it so much.
I did love it, and it was heartbreaking. But
so they gave you a medical discharge?
They didn't just give me a medical discharge. They had seen what I'd done with my career and what I had gone through, and so they actually gave me medical retirement.
That's nice.
So, which I am completely thankful for. It was not an easy process to go about arranging that, but they granted me that. And I think it was because they knew that if they were just going to release me, I would never be able to get health insurance. I would never be able to get life insurance or anything like that.
Even though you served for all those years?
Yep.
That is so messed up.
Yep.
I just had this conversation with somebody a couple days ago that the aftercare for those who serve is disturbingly poor.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And, it allows me the freedom to seek medical help outside of the Veterans Administration, outside of the VA. And yeah, it's a big deal. And I would not be here if it hadn't been for that. They helped save my life. So
you're getting weaker.
Yeah, so I'm getting weaker. I get out of the military. I moved back to Chattanooga just because it was home. I have family there, stuff like that. I went to the Chattanooga Heart Institute, and I had a doctor that I went to see, and they didn't know what was wrong. They knew that they saw the things that were wrong with me. They didn't know how to fix it.
Really?
Chattanooga has a great medical community, but it's not like here in Nashville where you have Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Or like you can go to the Mayo Clinic somewhere, or you can go to the Cleveland Clinic or NYU or Duke or something like that. It's not a major medical place. And
every hospital has its thing that it excels at, of course.
Exactly. And they don't do heart transplants in Chattanooga.
And we had progressed at this point. You were there?
No, not yet.
Oh.
I had this one doctor who said, I don't know how to fix you, but I think I know of somebody that could help you. And even today, he and that doctor and I still have the best relationship with one another. We've gone out and had a beer together, and I've thanked him for saying to me, I don't know.
Thank God for that.
Because there's a lot of people that are so proud of what they do.
And wrapped up in their ego.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That he could have tried a million things.
Yeah.
And just kept...
Now, so you can't just repair a chamber. That requires an entire...
Well,
Do you want some more coffee?
No.
Oh.
I've still got a little bit more.
Okay.
When having an enlarged heart causes multiple problems, because there's valves that go in between the chambers, and they're like two little flaps, and they work together simultaneously to allow the blood to pump through effectively. Mm-hmm. Well, when you have an enlarged heart, those chambers are spread apart. That valve is spread apart.
So there's no regulatory.
Yeah, so it will allow blood to pump through, but some blood may pump back up.
Which is dangerous for bacterium and all sorts of fun
things,
it
right? Causes all kinds of problems. It causes weird heart rhythms and all kinds of stuff.
I have a mitral valve prolapse.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, the heart disease that I had was called restrictive cardiomyopathy, which means that it's restricted to one chamber of the heart. But cardiomyopathy is an actual disease of the heart muscle, to where it's not actually pumping like it should. It just kind of wiggles a little bit.
Which is why you were out of breath and all these and lightheaded, and
Absolutely.
You're just not getting the blood to your brain even.
That's right. And so I guess in 2007, in June of 2007, I was at home and I was sitting on the couch, and then all of a sudden I just got this massive headache. It was intense, and it was like I had a ringing in my ears that was just like, I don't know if you've ever been in a bad car accident where it's like bam, and you've got this intense ringing in your ears. It was so massive, and I ran to the bathroom, and I got sick to my stomach, and then all of a sudden, that was the last thing I remember. And I woke up in the hospital, and
were you married at the time? Did you have somebody that was keeping an eye on things?
I was married at the time, and I woke up in the hospital, and I had a blood clot in my heart. All that, since the blood wasn't being pumped effectively, it pulled up in my heart, and it moved to my brain. And on the way up, it actually split into two clots. And so I had two massive strokes at the same time.
Jesus.
And it was not...
What part of your brain?
It was not cool. And my thalamus and my cerebellum.
Okay.
And it caused... a lot of bad stuff to happen to my body physically. The right side of my body was paralyzed for just a short while, and then I lost the ability to speak. It took me about 3.5 months to really learn how to talk again.
That's scary.
It's incredibly scary.
What does that mean? I've always wondered that, because does that mean that you have to sit and learn A, B, C, D, or does it mean your brain, you already know what the words are, but you have to learn how to make your mouth do the thing?
Absolutely.
Or? Okay.
And it's like you're trapped inside your own body. And that's the reason that that stroke is so terrible. It's because usually it happens when you're up in age, to elderly folks. And, I can be a heart condition patient, but you're a stroke victim. Because it's all of a sudden your brain is sick and your brain is paralyzed, and you have brain damage. And, when you have surgery or another medical procedure, there's medicine that doctors can give you to help you feel better. There's pain medicine. There's all kinds of stuff that they can do. When your brain is damaged and your brain is sick, there's no medicine that they can give you to help you feel better. All it is strong will and determination to make yourself feel better. And it's like a drive and a will to carry on and to get better yourself.
Thank God you were in the military.
Well,
because I feel like that's a military training would have helped you. Not that it works for everyone, but I would imagine that training is something you can draw from.
Yeah, And it was. And
Did you have to have brain surgery to
no,
relieve the clots?
Never had to have brain surgery. But I was
you
like,
got a good head of hair, buddy.
I was
you don't have to ruin that.
I was like a minute or two away from having to have that done.
Wow.
They did give me medicine that broke up the clots in my brain. They didn't have to go in and
50 bear aspirin or something.
I don't know what it was.
Some sort of blood thinner probably.
I couldn't speak.
Could you write?
No, because it all came out like a kindergartner.
So in your mind, you're speaking full senses, but in reality, it's like having apraxia. It doesn't come out correctly.
Actually, when I was speaking, it was coming out in numbers.
Whoa!
Like 1, 9, 4, 5, 6. I was actually physically saying that, but in my mind, I thought I was saying, I'm okay, it's all right, I'm going to be all right.
That gives me the shivers.
Well, at the time, I was working as an engineer. And so math was incredibly important because I was doing trig and calculus pretty much all day long. And I was doing these heavy mathematical equations. And it was, I could remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but I couldn't remember numbers in a pattern. I knew, I didn't know what a telephone number even looked like. I didn't know my social security number. I knew what street I lived on, but I didn't know the house number. It was like numbers, patterns were just completely erased from my mind.
Wow.
It was like there was all of a sudden a wall put up in my brain where I couldn't remember any of that. But I tell you, the one thing that really helped was music. Because music is math. Mm. The way that scales fit together and the way that chords fit together in a pattern, it was a math puzzle. And if I could figure out the math puzzle, I could probably do it physically. I could make it come out of the guitar. And so I still think about it like that. I still think of music like that. And it's pretty interesting.
So all that classical training saved the day.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, so you've had these strokes and your body is probably in massive defense mode, and yet you still have this issue with your heart. So
yeah, I do. My heart disease went way downhill quick after that. That was in June of 2007. In November, I was put on the transplant list to have a heart transplant. And so I waited for a while.
Were you at least somewhere toward the top, given
yeah, I was.
your service?
But, well, it didn't really have anything to do with service.
It doesn't?
It just has to do with how sick you are.
Okay.
And how life-threatening it is. You know, there's some people that wait years for a transplant.
Sure.
Whether it's heart, lung,
a lot of people die
liver.
waiting.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
And that's why it's extremely important. And I'm going to put it out there. Donate your organs, please. You can save so many people. I mean, your eardrums can be used to help somebody hear again. I mean, it's even your skin, all kinds of stuff. So I cannot express that enough. But I actually got called 3 times thinking that they had a heart for me. And the first time, sat there, waited all night long in the hospital, and somebody else ended up getting it.
How does that happen?
Because if
matching and all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
matching, and they always
Blood.
call in 2.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't work out for one person, there's a backup.
Right. And there's not a lot of window, I suppose, to keep a heart
and
alive.
conditions have to be absolutely perfect.
Yes.
Like the person can be sick, but they can't be too sick. Like it's a fine window. And the next time, I didn't even get to the hospital, and somebody else got it. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It turned out that the heart had fluid in it, and they couldn't use it.
Yours or theirs?
Theirs.
Transplant heart.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then the third time it worked. So
in that second time, though, where you're thinking, this is it. I mean, what do you go through? How do you not have post-traumatic stress from that?
Well,
that walking that fine line and knowing that
I think it's just hope and faith that it's going to happen. You know, I don't know. And I think I was just so sick. I was so sick that, I mean, what else do you do?
Were you in the hospital this whole time? Did they let you?
No.
So you're at home?
Yeah, so I was at home.
Oxygen mat?
No,
oxygen tank?
never had to do any of that.
Okay.
I did have a, it's not a pacemaker, but it's called an ICD, implantable cardiac defibrillator, which is for my heart rate was too fast, and so it would help regulate it. And you know, like I'm sure you've seen on medical shows and stuff where they have the EMT has the paddles and they shock somebody. It was that, but it was inside me.
Yeah, my friend Charlie just passed away. He had that and it got infected.
Oh
yeah.
Well, I didn't have mine for very long. I only had mine for just not even 6 months, maybe even a couple months. But I did get shocked once. It was awful. It's like getting kicked in the chest by a horse. I mean, literally. But you know, it was either wait and receive a heart or die. I mean, that was
right. Not a lot of options.
I mean, not a lot of options there. So, you know, I just did the best that I could.
Do you have children?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you know, it's just it's a lot. It's a lot to think about now. But
so then you get the call that they have one.
Yeah, got the call that they had one. I ended up having my transplant Valentine's Day, 2008.
Gotta love God's sense of humor. Ooh,
man, tell you what. And it was good. It was very hard. I won't lie. Physically, it's very hard. Emotionally, it's incredibly hard.
How do you mean? Besides the obvious, is there anything specific that comes to mind?
Yeah, you kind of sit there and, I mean, being in the hospital for a month.
Depressing.
Yeah. And you think about why me and, you know, why was I chosen to do this? And, you know, even though I was extremely grateful for what is the most precious gift you could ever receive from another human being is the gift of life. And that somebody would be so selfless to give of themselves after they're finished with their physical form.
Did you know anything about the person whose heart you received?
I didn't.
Did you feel any different? Did you have any kind of like, oh, now I crave salami. I hated salami before.
No.
Anything like that I've heard of?
No. No, I didn't. But...
was it surreal? I mean, you have somebody else's heart inside of you. That is so weird.
Yeah. It is at first, but now it's mine.
That one isn't.
No.
It gets more interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, but like the physical rehabilitation of that transplant was very hard. It was hard to move. I didn't know how to feel in my chest and my body, and it was very uncomfortable. And like, you know, they're cracking open.
Yeah,
it's like literally being hit by a truck.
Yeah, they open you all the way up, crack your ribs open.
You've got tubes and stuff everywhere, and there's all kinds of baggage, and like it's wild. But it's unbelievable to think about.
This may be a dumb question, but does it change your blood type? Is your heart what makes the blood type, or is it your blood that makes
No, it's your blood.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's just really a filtration
system.
But
one of the things that they have to match when you do receive an organ is blood type and tissue type, and there's all kinds of things that go
crazy.
Antibodies and all that stuff. So yeah, it's unbelievable. So did that. It was hard. There was a lot. I did have some infection and stuff that happened after that transplant that was hard to deal with. Like I had to have a port put in my chest for constant
antibiotic.
Yeah, they had to do like light therapy to my blood, where they would actually cycle my blood out of my body and shock it with light, because your body has so many immunities in it, but when you have a transplant your body is considering that a foreign object and it's trying to fight it off, and so my blood was not. And the antibodies and the immune cells in my blood was thinking that this is not my heart. This is a foreign object, and I'm going to attack it. And so what they would do is they would take the blood out of my body and shock it with light to like reset it to 0, and then filter it back into my body, so it would think, oh, now this is my heart.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Who thought that up?
Not me. I'm not smart enough to think something like that.
That is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But, there's a lot of side effects that can come along with that, too. Like, my eyes were really sensitive to light, so I had to wear sunglasses all the time, even indoors. I mean, you just kind of look like a freak.
Why is that? It's an interesting
I don't know.
Offshoot of a thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Huh. Well, we're, I guess, an entire system.
Yeah. So, I'm not a doctor. I don't try to be. I don't try to pretend to be.
Not even on TV.
I probably should have been. But
engineer's close.
Yeah, well.
Engineer's close.
But, it's just.
So, when did things start to go south on that heart?
Well, I'd done a lot with that heart. I hiked the first section of the Appalachian Trail. I had been snowboarding, and I was very athletic. I was riding road bikes, like bicycles, and mountain biking and hiking all the time, and I was
feeling good.
Feeling great. I went in for a 4-year checkup, which every year I have to have a biopsy done of my heart. They actually go in. They do a heart catheterization where they go in through a little scope, and they look at the pressures and the pumping functions of my heart, and they actually take out a little piece of it, and they test it for rejection to see if there's any kind of problems there. So
Janis Joplin.
Yeah. So on my 4-year checkup, they came back and they said, your body is rejecting your heart.
After that long?
We see how hard you have tried, because I changed my diet. I changed my way of thinking. And one of the things about being a transplant recipient is compliance on every level, whether it's your diet or taking your medicine on time, every day.
Because you had to take anti-rejection medicine the rest of your life, right?
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
Not necessarily for the rest of your life.
We're myth-busting right now.
but during that time, yeah. I mean, and plus the other thing is it costs a lot of money. I mean, it costs a lot of money for the medicine. Thankfully, I have great insurance, so like, I'm cool with that. But a lot of people can't afford it.
Yeah.
And it's really sad when I see stuff like that happen. And the other thing is not just keeping your diet and your medicine right, but it's also keeping your mind right. Because if you're not right up here, you're not going to be right anywhere else in your body. And
so what did that mean for you?
Well, just having a positive attitude about everything. And I think when I first had my transplant, it's hard to avoid regular human emotions. It's hard to avoid being sad and getting angry and getting upset and all that kind of stuff. And I had to work past that because I thought, I'm just grateful to be here. And which generally I am, but I will get sad and upset and mad and, all those, and happy and laugh and all those kind of things. That's what makes humans humans. Hey, human.
Yeah. Amen.
But, it's, I had to just realize that I was human, just like everybody else. I've just been dealt a different hand.
An extraordinary one.
Yeah.
So in that moment when the doctor says, this isn't working, what now?
So we looked at the what now. So when they went in to do that 4-year checkup and biopsy, it turned out that one of my arteries was clogged in my heart, which is it was like I was going to have a heart attack. But the thing is that when they put in a new organ, when they put in a new heart, they can reconnect everything, but they can't reconnect nerves. So there's a nerve that runs from your brain to your heart to tell it how fast to beat. Like when I work out, I have to warm up very slowly, and I have to cool down very slowly. I just can't go sprinting off across the field. Like I've got to build up to it. It's not that I can't do that. I just, I've got to watch myself. So, so we looked at different options. We looked at stenting or balloon therapy. We looked at bypass surgery.
And wait, you had a clogged artery, but you were on this healthy diet? Was that just I had a heart disease that only transplant patients can get called, oh gosh. If I hadn't have just said that, I would remember the name. It's okay.
Cardiac vasculopathy.
Okay.
Is what it's called. And it's like where, and again, I'm not a doctor, so if anybody's listening that disagrees, I don't really know what I'm talking about.
I think they're going to give you some slack.
Okay. Well, it's where over time my body built up its own immune cells, but it was like those immune cells were storing themselves in my artery as if it were plaque. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It wasn't like I was doing anything bad.
No, I understand.
There was nothing I could do to prevent that from happening.
Sure.
And it's like, to me, organ transplant is just like if you were to take some flowers from your backyard that were so beautiful and doing so well in your backyard, and then you take them to your front yard, you decide to transplant them to your front yard, and they die. Conditions have to be perfect.
Sure.
It's soil, it's water, it's shade, it's sun. It's all of the conditions that have to be right to make that plant want to thrive. Same thing with organ transplant, I believe. That's how I think of it.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
A good metaphor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we looked at different options, and then we talked about, the inevitable was retransplantation. And I was like, between my first and second transplant, I got in a divorce. I was remarried. And it was like I had a new purpose for my life. And
do you think the divorce came out of all the stress? And I mean, that's a lot for a human being
yes,
to go through.
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I would imagine that would be hard.
Yeah, it was very hard.
Yeah.
But you know, I was recently remarried, and things were just so wonderful in my life that when they told me that I had to have a new, I was going to have to be retransplanted, or I had the option to do that, it was a no-brainer. I was like, yes, let's do it. Okay, I got this. Got it. I mean, I'd already been through it once, and I knew what to expect. And for some reason, I wasn't scared. I was terrified the first time. But it was like, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. And I got put on the transplant list that day, and within 6 weeks, I got called, and that was it. It was May 16th, 2012. So I just celebrated my 6th birthday.
Did you know anything about that heart?
I do.
What do you know about that heart?
That it came from a young man who had a wife and a loving family and a child, and you know, I don't know. So I had my surgery. It all went incredibly well. I was actually up, out of the bed, walking down the hallway within 12 hours after my surgery.
Wow. You were a lot healthier this time.
Yep.
For sure.
I was healthier this time, for sure. And I knew what to expect. And I knew what it was going to take for me to be physically successful and mentally successful. And it was great. And the support system that was there from my family and from my wife, and you know, I was in a lot better state, just in general. Yeah. And so, that was it. I mean, I did very well the second time. Very well. I think I was out of the hospital in like 10 days, maybe.
Do you still get those checkups all the time?
I do. I don't have to do a biopsy anymore. Oh. They don't. They still go in. They check the pressures and all that kind of stuff, but they don't actually take a little piece out of it anymore.
Anything different about this besides the feeling healthy and having the support system and all that? Emotionally, is there?
Yeah, I feel.
Especially because it's a younger person.
Well, so you were asking about food the first time. If I noticed if I like anything different. I couldn't stand mushrooms. But now it's like I crave them. Like I have a craving for mushrooms. I don't know what it is.
Interesting.
I mean, that would be the only thing that I would say that's different about my taste palette these days.
I'm curious how you knew this family or this person versus the last person. Was it
They reached out to me.
Have you met them?
No, I have not.
Are you planning to?
That is...
Yet to be determined?
That's one thing that I still struggle with.
Why?
It's because they reached out to me, and it's my decision whether or not I want to reach back out to them. Mm-hmm. I don't know. it's, I don't know if they'll be proud.
Oh, what do you mean?
I mean, that's their son and somebody's husband, somebody's father, and I just don't want to ever be disappointing to anybody.
Oh my God, your story is so beautiful, though, and everything you've done and all you've endured. I imagine I'm going to tear up, but I imagine that they would be so proud.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's a lot of emotions around
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I think about it a lot.
When I think about transplant stuff, I think, if there was ever more proof that how connected we are, it's that. Like, you're the living embodiment of the connection of humanity.
Yeah.
So it's incredible.
It's just...
and their son lives on in you.
I know.
Man.
I just want to make sure that I'm...
worthy?
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're absolutely 100% worthy. I've known you all of an hour.
Well...
your being in general is lovely.
Thank you.
It's lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't just throw that around. That's a big word, lovely.
Yeah. I just... I don't know. I just want to make them proud.
Yeah.
And I'll do it, but it's got to feel like the right time for me.
Totally makes sense.
To do that.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
And I'm getting there.
Yeah. If you had to do it all over again, would you still, knowing that, the 0 point was you being there and being a part of the first responding, and a lot of people got sick, obviously, and many people lost their lives, whether in that day or later because of it, would you still do it all over again?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I figured you were going to say yes.
Well,
with every right to say no, I figured
I don't know anything different for my life.
Yeah.
I don't know how my life would have ended up if I hadn't have gone in the military and I hadn't made the choices that I made and I hadn't done the things that I had done and go through. It makes me who I am today.
Yeah.
And I am proud of who I am. But I don't like to think of myself as any different than anyone else. I don't want to ever use what I've been through in my story as a crutch for my life. And I see a lot of people that do that, whether it's and it's hard for me. It's hard for me to talk to. I find it difficult sometimes to talk to people that are our age about things this heavy, because a lot of people can't identify with something this major. Being sick, going through major world events firsthand. There's a lot of people that just can't identify with something that big.
I think human beings are, in a lot of ways, scared of their own mortality and certainly perhaps even their own humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I see you in me, what does that mean?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. It's a lot to think about for people.
Yeah, it is.
Does that make you feel like you're on your own island? Obviously, you have a family that you can talk to.
No. And I have a lot of great friends.
Yeah.
I have a lot of great friends, and a lot of people know.
Yeah.
I mean, but when I introduce myself to people, and I meet people for the first time, or I'm getting to know somebody, I want them to know me for who I am.
You don't go, hello, my name is Tin Man.
Yeah. Or, I want them to get to know me for me and my personality and who I am as a person, even though this has made me who I am as a person altogether. I would rather get them know me for me than the 3-heart guy. You know? I just don't want to be ever treated any differently than anyone else.
Has anyone ever done that?
Yeah, I think so. A little bit.
Like kid glove you or something?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I can take it, man.
That speaks more about them than you, of course.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But
we don't treat anyone else other than how we feel about ourselves.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, this heart has been great.
Yeah.
And the difference between this one and the last one is like night and day.
I wonder what the age difference is.
I don't know.
I wonder if that makes a difference.
I don't know.
I would imagine it probably does.
I don't know.
But yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know. I feel like I'm going to live until I'm 117 years old.
Let's hope so. Why not?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But, this one's come along with some complications too.
Like?
Let's see. I had my transplant in May, and in August of 2012, I was at home again. I got a headache, and it turned into like a migraine, and it lasted for 3 days. And my wife was finally like, you need to go to the doctor. So I did. I went to the emergency room, and I had fungal meningitis.
Whoa.
Not cool.
No.
It was awful. Turned out that...
For those that don't understand what that means, it means the lining of your brain is now too big for its shell.
Yep.
Yeah, not a good thing.
No, it was not a good thing. And that can be a side effect of heart transplantation. It can, it's actually it's not common, but it can happen. And I think it's has to do with, and again, I'm not a doctor. There's certain medicine that the surgeons use to sterilize the heart on entry into your body, and it can cause that to happen, and it happened. I'm like a 1 in a million patient transplant, everything else, and why not that too? So
go big or go home.
Yeah, go big or go home for real.
Hope you're buying lottery tickets.
No, I never do. But it was really bad. I was really sick.
Yeah, and antifungals are hard on the body.
Oh man,
so hard on the body.
And this is, if I'm saying that I was really sick, this is coming from a person that's had a stroke and 2 heart transplants. I was sick. I literally didn't get out of the hospital bed for a month. Good Lord. And I didn't eat for like 3 days at a time.
And they were probably pumping you with saline to keep you hydrated.
I'm like a thin guy.
Yeah.
And I lost like 25 pounds. I was like real thin, and I had all this medicine coming in that was, it was awful. And
your filtration organs were probably freaking out the whole time.
Yeah, and it caused kidney problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, they even talked about dialysis at one time and all that kind of stuff. So it was a lot of training to get me physically healthy again. It was hard. So, but moving past that.
Here you are.
I'm cool.
You look great.
Thanks.
Got rosy cheeks.
Yeah.
Bomb ass hair. Not that hair has anything to do with anything, but whatever. Wow. So what's your eye on now at this point? Just every day moving forward. You have a unique perspective on life, of course, because you
totally.
have, danced in the hallway.
Yeah. It's, I think I'm just living. I've got to keep moving on. I mean, there's things that I want to do, and there's, I've got 5-year goals and 10-year goals, just like everybody else does.
Yeah.
And I try to plan and think ahead and listen. I mean, the fact that I'm even here, that I'm even sitting here talking to you about this, is an absolute total miracle. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm a medical marvel of modern science.
Absolutely.
It is absolutely incredible. And listen, I pretty much eat everything organic. I'm pretty much a vegetarian. Mm-hmm. And when I do eat meat, like I know where it comes from. Like it's I get serious about that stuff. And my wife has really taught me a lot about healthy living and healthy mind and keeping balanced and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And you're a yoga practitioner and things like that too as well, right?
Yes.
You do all sorts of like good body things. Yeah.
You got to take care of yourself. You only get one chance, man.
Or 3.
Or 3. I don't ever wish what I've been through on anybody else. It's not easy. Mm-mm. And I think living up to the expectations of being a transplant recipient is not easy sometimes either, because sometimes the public's perspective of what you should be, and it's hard sometimes. People see my life and things that I've done, but and thinks that I should be on the straight and narrow of everything.
What does that mean exactly?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know. I just know what it means to me.
Yeah. How it feels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I love to drink beer.
Yeah.
I love it.
Good.
I love drinking wine. And those are things that I love. But, like, you have to keep everything in moderation is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Moderation.
And you had to enjoy your life. My gosh, you're not...
Yeah, exactly.
Especially, I would think.
Yep.
Not that we all... I mean, honestly, we should all go through life as if this is our last day on earth, of course. Not in a hedonistic way, but in a joyful, in a seeing ourselves as a miracle, as seeing everything we do in that...
Yeah, but at the same...
It's very hard to do because we're human beings and we're...
Exactly.
most of us are assholes. I know I can be an asshole. Like whatever.
And I am too. And that's one of the other things that I find interesting about this heart. And I don't know if this is from me assuming somebody else's personality, but or it just has to do with me being older. I don't take shit from anybody anymore. It's like I'm a lot more fiery than I used to be, I think. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's just has to do with getting older and just,
Yeah, you suffer no fool.
Grumpy.
Maybe. Or you've seen that life is not worthy of a waste of time.
Yeah.
Because we don't have time.
And another thing that I was saying about not being able to... It's not that I'm not able to talk to people about it. I am.
Well, clearly you're here.
Yeah, but like...
you're about to talk to 100,000 people. Whee!
But people hesitate to talk about their own problems to me.
Oh, I could see why that would
because they think that it's so insignificant compared to what I've been through.
Yeah,
it's not.
Right.
It's not. It's just, this is my story. You have yours, and whatever's going on in your life is intimate and personal and
Valid.
valid to you.
Yes, of course.
And I don't want to ever make anybody feel uncomfortable like they cannot talk about stuff that's happening in their own life. And sometimes I get that. Mm. And sometimes, people talk to me about, having a stomach ache or a headache, and they're like, oh, I shouldn't complain, this and that, because look at what you've been through. I'm like, no, that's going on with you. It's perfectly valid for you to feel that way.
Yeah.
Why
did you wait 3 days to go to the hospital with a bad headache like that?
Because I thought it would go away.
Oh, okay. Did any part of you whisper in your ear like,
fuck.
Yeah.
No, when the headache got so bad I could barely even open my eyes because the light would just intensify it. And then that's why I was like, listen, there's something wrong. Something wrong. We need to go.
Are you an organ donor?
Yeah.
Can your heart be let's say you live to 107?
I don't think so.
No, okay.
I actually tried to, after my transplant, I tried to donate bone marrow, and they wouldn't let me do it. Mm-hmm. I can't even donate blood either.
Probably because you had all that.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know the medical reasons.
They're like, just keep it all in there.
Yeah, just keep it all yourself.
Don't even spit on the sidewalk. Just
well, but I am an organ donor. I think when I'm done with my body, I want to be donated to medical science for research purposes because there's not too many of me walking around.
Right.
I think only a handful.
Yeah.
In the world.
Are there 3 times, milady? Are there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's a lot. It's a lot for one corpus to go through.
Yeah.
For sure. Jeff, you're extraordinary.
Thanks.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And for telling your story. It's amazing and crazy and all the things.
Well,
I'm glad you're here.
This is the first. Thank you.
I'm glad you're on the planet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've ever done anything like this.
Oh. Well.
So, it's a little nerve-wracking.
You
a
did
little bit.
Very well.
Thank you. But I hope that somebody that is going through any type of situation in their life, whether it's personal or medical or anything like that, I hope that I can be an inspiration.
I think you can guarantee that.
That, don't give up.
Yeah.
You're going to be all right. Physically and mentally, you're much more, you're capable of much more than you think you possibly are. Because I would never, in my wildest dreams, ever imagine that my life would turn out like this, and here I am.
Here you are.
And listen, your attitude is your altitude. You're going to go as high and as far as you think you are. And if you think your life is limitless, then it will be.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
I do. Well done. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.